In 2017, the Children Daycare Center Kempenstraße was awarded the Environmental Prize of the city of Essen. The children spent an entire year getting involved in environmental topics. They filtered water, created their own vegetable beds, experimented with plastic bags, and even spent an entire day without electricity. Environmentally conscious behavior and confronting with nature are embedded in the daycare center's day-to-day life.
The children take home to their families what they've learned and experienced. It's not uncommon for us parents to come and say, "My child told me not to use a bag," or "I shouldn't buy the cucumber that's in a plastic wrapper." I think if we really want to change something in our world, we need to start with the children, because they will spread the message. Kids take it seriously.
There could not have been a more worthy winner of the environmental award than the kids from Essen-Holsterhausen in the European Green Capital of 2017.
After being the European capital of culture, the city of Essen has once again surprised with the ability to transform. People didn't think we could do it, and we're very proud of our achievement. Our city has a very green side, and in particular, the green capital has a very human side.
In figures, this means that 210, almost half of the 453 projects in the Green Capital, were citizens' projects, in addition to 187 municipal projects and 56 congresses and meetings, with the results of these even reaching the UN Climate Change Conference. 1,400 cyclists from Essen covered 410,000 kilometers in the city, thereby saving more than 58,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide. The city's green education program Schule Natur reported 45,400 participants at almost 1,500 events. 158 volunteers from 21 countries have accompanied 1,386 campaigns. After 46 years, swimming in the Ruhr River is now possible, and during 47 days, 7,700 visitors came along. The European Green Capital had a total budget of 16.5 million euros, and it managed to make it with that. Guests from 40 countries visited the Green Capital and admired the 100,000 freshly planted flower bulbs and 50,000 shrubs, and they were amazed by the city.
It was extremely good to include the effect it had on the outside world. The people of Essen are proud of this achievement. After being the capital of culture, we're now also a green capital, and not just in 2017, but from now on.
I think that together we've managed to blow a lot of old coal dust from people's heads.
Well, in that case,
Green up your life.
the reactions to the opening event were very close to the Green Capital slogan.
It's wonderful, simply wonderful.
The Green Capital transformed the local recreation park Park Essen into a fairy tale landscape experience. Over 2 days, more than 30,000 visitors were enchanted by installations, performances, and actions relating to the environment and the themes of the year. 3 high-ranking politicians attended the official opening. Barbara Hendricks, then Federal Minister for the Environment, Johannes, by then State Environment Minister in North Rhine-Westphalia, and the European Commissioner for the Environment, Carmenu Vella. But it was the Lord Mayor of Essen who had the privilege of announcing.
We are now the European Green Capital of 2017.
A quick selfie and off to the next premiere. "1,200 spectators in the sold-out Lichtburg cinema were amazed at how beautiful Essen looked from above.
It wasn't just about capturing new footage. The goal was also to create a new image, a new brand, and I think that has been successful.
I've discovered something.
Discovering Essen. When the Baldeneyssteig hiking trail was opened, many Essen residents just couldn't resist. As a result, the 27-kilometer circular trail experienced the same problem as the A40 motorway on its opening day. It was very stop and go. Talking about how beautiful Essen South is, that's one thing, but seeing it with your own eyes is quite another. And well, Essen is beautiful. While the Baldeneyssteig Trail is a great place to see what Essen has to offer, the cycle experience tours are best for finding out what's going on in the city. The construction site tour, for example, explored the artificial lake Niederfeldsee, the Krupp Park and the Green Center University Quarter, all emission-free. The city's rediscovery went beyond mere sightseeing. The central exhibition during the Green Capital year was called Green in the City of Essen, More Than Parks and Gardens. Drawing on Essen's history, it informed visitors how the city has been transformed.
I lived in Essen until I was 40 and witnessed huge changes even during that time. I think what's happening in the city and the region at the moment is just brilliant.
The exhibition confirmed that the transition from grey to green hasn't been by chance. It's the result of long-term planning. That's something people could also observe during the regular bus tours on the Green Capital line, an open double-decker through Green Essen. Many excursions were on offer, including some by Essen Marketing, and they all helped residents and visitors to get a different view of the city. The Essener Aussichten, the Essen views, also offer quite different perspectives of the city. In order to really understand the Ruhr in general, and Essen in particular, they need to be viewed from above. And since 2017, exactly that has been possible at around 30 viewpoints that were created as part of the Green Capital year. Anyone who still holds on to stereotypes about a grey region is at the least convinced with this.
Our main story was the transformation process from grey to green, from a city of coal and steel to the greenest city in North Rhine-Westphalia, and that surprised many, just as the capital of culture has surprised many. That was the second time people were surprised. They said, "What, Essen? Green capital? That's impossible."
But it wasn't quite the opposite. Climate change, biodiversity, waste management and green innovations. The European Union's task book was packed with a dozen different topics. A special logo has been developed. It referenced Essen's grey-green history and was present all over the city. The individual projects were divided up into 5 accessible topics: My Green, My Rivers, My Paths, My Shopping and My Future. Existing activities were placed under the umbrella of the Green Capital. In addition, citizens' projects were created. In this category alone, 400 project applications were submitted. The 210 citizens' initiatives covered the entire range of the green capital idea. Beautification and cleanup activities made the city neighborhoods more livable. There were green running groups such as the Lustige Schleicher or Merry Dawdlers, and theatre groups on the history of the Borbeck Castle Park. There were film and photography projects to document the green side of Essen. The biggest hits among the citizens' projects were gardening and children's activities. The city space was brought closer to the people in different ways. The entire city community, organizations, associations, initiatives, daycare facilities, schools and private individuals got involved. From the Insect Hotel to the sound collage Sound of Emscher, the result was a kind of grassroots green capital. Sustainability was one of the most important criteria in selecting projects. For example, 750 saplings were planted during the Green Capital Year as part of the One Tree Per Child event. During the Green Capital Year of 2017, Essen got more than 1,100 new trees. Head of project Simone Raskop and Lord Mayor Thomas Kufen were on constant green duty in 2017.
By the end of 2017, it was clear that the Lord Mayor of the city of Essen, the European green capital, always had rubber boots and a raincoat in his car.
The annual clean-up program of the city of Essen, called Sauberzauber or Clean Magic, saw record participation in 2017 with more than 17,000 people getting involved. Again, different organizations, associations, neighborhoods, many residents did their bit for a clean city. The very youngest preschool and primary school children were particularly enthusiastic in their contribution. You too collected rubbish today?
Yes.
And what did you find?
We found bottles, drink cans, and then we found cigarettes.
Dann haben wir noch Zigaretten gefunden.
Even at the bottom of Lake Baldenei, there was a garbage collection. The city's dive clubs cleaned up the lake and the plant bathing area. Under the headline Green Capital Day projects in cooperation with the City Council were launched in all 9 city districts. There were some big projects, including the Baldeneysteig hiking trail, but also very small ones, such as the creation of a workout and chill-out area in the Bürgerhaus Hauptstadt, a suburban village hall. Young people from the Steele district had asked for this, and they got involved in making it real. Although the age of the great street footballers is over, balls are still kicked around and football pitches are important green spaces and recreation areas. It was only natural that the Green Capital also fully supported the Bolzplatzpaten project. The name means amateur football field sponsors, an idea well worthy of a city famous for its football. The patrons are Essen's football legends, street workers, and the footballing teenagers themselves. Their mission was to vitalize Essen's street soccer culture. It wasn't just sportsmen who got involved in the Green Capital Year, artists did too. The results of the design competition for the special edition of a Green Capital poster were exhibited in the Volkwang Museum along with the winning design by Henning Wagenbredt, a graphic artist from Berlin. Jens J. Meyer created the monumental sculpture Grüne in the glass cube of the Adult Education Center, a living work linking the topics of art, nature and education.
I remain impressed by the Grün auf, Green Up in Altendorf. A green capital project brought Essen closer together.
Altendorf had the reputation of being a problem district. The Green Capital kissed the frog to life and voila, there was a prince within. This lady doesn't even want to go home. The garden and family festival, Green Up. Altendorf was unanimously declared one of the nicest events during the Green Capital Year. Hardly anyone had imagined Altendorf could be so colorful, so green, so livable.
I think multiculturalism is quite good. It's not just colourful with flowers, meadows and events. It's colourful in smells, in people.
For decades, the Emscher was the dirtier of Essen's two major rivers. In the year of the European Green Capital, the ecological restoration of what was once basically a sewer attracted Europe-wide attention. More than that, the revitalization of the Emscher river system was one of the key factors in giving the award to Essen.
It was unbelievable for people to be able to restore this river after 100 years with an investment of more than 5 billion euros over a distance of 80 kilometers in just 30 years. People hadn't heard of that in Brussels, in Italy, in Spain.
In Essen city centre, all roads led to the Emscher in 2017, or rather, to information about the Emscher restoration project. Come to my green meadow and Emscher in the box. In an information pavilion on Kennedyplatz Square, two projects educated the public on everything worth knowing about the city's most spectacular transformation project.
There's no happier story about the whole Ruhr region.
The most direct way to experience the Emscher restoration was through the art project Waiting for the River. The wooden bridge on the Emscher Island in Essen-Altenessen was already a public's favorite during the European Capital of Culture year in 2010. It had lost none of its fascination even 7 years later. An oasis of calm, a place to relax, reflect and contemplate. For example, on how much the space around the Emscher has changed over the past 20 years. The biological state of the river and its tributaries could also be scientifically verified. The Emscher excursions on the Lumbricus environment bus were a fun way to learn that the Emscher is alive. Those who were particularly lucky could spot the Emscher-Gruppe Cottus Rianus. The fish survived the river's dark years in the sewage-free River Boy and has now moved back into the other Emscher tributaries. The My Rivers theme encompassed not just the city's two major rivers, but its entire blue infrastructure, meaning everything that happened along Essen's 26 streams. Essen, New Ways to the Water, was a project that aimed at recapturing the streams by creating spaces for relaxation, walking trails and cycle paths. The Green Capital made it its job to protect these waterways. Essen macht's klar, or Essen clears up, a joint project by the two German water management associations, Emscher Genossenschaft and Ruhrverband, works on minimizing medical drugs residues in wastewater.
We want to produce many campaign materials and, in cooperation with pharmacists, doctors and schools, win over the population never to throw medicines into the toilet, for example, but to throw them back into residual waste or return them to the pharmacy.
The most reported project of the European Green Capital was certainly swimming in the Ruhr.
3, 2, 1 und los!
The official opening of the seaside beach Baldenei Lido created huge waves in the media, because bathing in the Ruhr is evidence of the region's ecological transformation. Swimming in the lake was possible on 47 days. Work is already underway towards further optimization of the early warning system. Essen could be taken as an example and rolled out elsewhere because there are already ideas for creating bathing spots in other locations along the Ruhr. The My Shopping theme focused on sustainability and consumption. There was none of "you'll eat what you're given." This category took a critical look at what we consume, where it comes from, how it's produced, and what side effects our shopping has. The Green Capital wanted to motivate people to opt for locally produced foods. The campaign "Sow it, pick it, eat it" an exhibition of the region's agricultural and gardening potential, was the central project. The diversity of Essen's gardening activities could be explored by bike on 3 activity weekends in spring, summer and autumn. Organic farms with nearby farm shops participated, as well as urban gardening projects where people could rent their own little lots called Pick Your Own Fields. The classic allotments have always been part of the Ruhr culture. Essen still has more than 9,000 allotment gardeners. They have their origin in local food production. The community gardens combine sustainable gardening and social cohesion. Their number increased during the Green Capital year, supported by the City Council, from 10 to 18. Community gardening is becoming increasingly popular. Of course, it was possible during the Sow It, Pick It, Eat It tours to just enjoy the beautiful gardens. The Dingerkuss Garden House in Essen-Werden, for example.
The house was closed for many years and hidden behind a big wall. It was not accessible to the public. The idea is to open it up for the residents of the city.
Für die Bürger dieser Stadt.
Everyone involved in healthy, local and fair trade food came together on the Day of Good Food. The festival on Weberplatz Square was both a market for 70 regional food producers and a platform for discussions, talks and workshops all about food. The day was also a summit for initiatives concerning food. Initiatives called Slow Food, Field Heroes, Transition Town, or quite conventionally, Municipal Beekeeping Association. And they have one thing in common: conscious eating. The project 12 Months, 12 Cooks demonstrated what tasty treats could be conjured from regional, seasonal products. Top chefs from the European Green Capital hosted a monthly seasonal dinner. Tasting was also at the heart of the Coffee Garden Ruhr project. Roasting seminars, tasting sessions and lots of information all about the Germans' favorite drink were a hit in the Green Capital year too. The My Shopping theme didn't just look at what we consume, but also at what's left over from our shopping trips. The slogans on the litter bins of Essen's waste disposal companies were part of this, as were campaigns to say no to plastic bags. All the ideas to avoid waste were summarized at the Upcycling and Recycling Festival, Paradises and Utopias. 10,000 visitors over 2 days came to Essen's Stadtgarten Park. As with all the projects, it wasn't about finger-wagging. It was about an enjoyable approach to a grave subject. Deck chairs were made out of the used banners of the Green Capital. There were paradises in a glass and art installations made of plastic waste. The thought-provoking messages were embedded in a colorful, relaxed program. Paradises and Utopias. Not exactly a modest title, but not too ambitious. Plastic art in both senses was one of the last art events of the European Green Capital. The art object Emscher Groppe, or Kotos Reanus, was created in a Grugerbad Lido out of 10,000 used plastic shopping bags. It was designed by the artist collective Umschichten from Stuttgart. Just another way to highlight the vast amount of plastic floating around in the 7 seas. Sustainable mobility was one of the really big topics of the European Green Capital. My Paths. The city didn't beat about the bush with its ambitious goal. Motorized personal transport, cars, should account for no more than a quarter of traffic in the city by 2035. The rest consists of 25% public transport, 25% pedestrians, and 25% cyclists. That's the plan. In the last survey, in 2011, only 5.4% of Essen's residents used the bike.
I'd say we're further along today than we were in 2011 when it comes to the percentage of people using bikes and public transport. That's why we're anxiously waiting to see the household survey in 2018. We have a great interim goal of 11% more cyclists by 2020. I think that's completely doable, and we have to achieve that. But it means we need to have a transport turnaround in Essen and place a greater focus on the environmental alliance.
Cyclists had their biggest performance on the day in motion. The Ruhr cycle rally in the city centre culminated in a group ride with 800 participants, making it a big event. For a sadly cold and rainy Sunday, cyclists and pedestrians crowded out their motorized competition and took back the city centre streets. The colourful programme offered plenty of exercise for both mind and body.
This event was really very nice. Great, I liked it very much. It's particularly nice for the children.
I thought the soapbox derby was great and something for the adults too. A great idea.
I was already here this morning when we had that unfortunate rain, but now people have come after all. I think it's great.
And there's one event that will definitely be remembered for a long time to come: the walking frame flash mob. Cyclists were everywhere during the Green Capital year. Almost all the projects were somehow connected to bicycles, and there were also bike-specific activities such as the Cycle Experience Tours, the Cycle to Work project, and the City Cycling event, for which a new record could be established in 2017. The fact that the first section of RS1, the Bike Expressway Ruhr, ran from Essen to Mülheim fitted in perfectly, but more has to be done.
We have to do more, particularly when it comes to cycling. We have demonstrated in the past that we've laid good foundations. There are almost 400 kilometers of cycle paths in our city, and the RS1 runs where in Germany? Here in Essen. We have to carry on from here and link Essen up to the entire region. That shows that we're on the right cycle path, and we're firm about wanting to continue down this road.
The Green Capital did its part here, not least with the thank you promotion for cyclists. The volunteers intercepted cyclists in Essen and expressed their thanks with small gifts. They wanted to express their gratitude for taking care of the air we breathe. The project Cycling Without Age Limits demonstrates that any age limit for emission-free mobility is purely theoretical. Anyone who can't pedal anymore has someone else do the work. Senior citizens love the bicycle rickshaw trips that are on offer from the Protestant Church's social work unit in cooperation with the city of Essen. The tours are sentimental trips through time, and they give even those advanced in age a close-up experience of nature. Let's Take a Walk as another example of senior citizen mobility. Sometimes all that's missing in order to be happy is a weekly walk. The Green Capital offered exactly that and gave many of Essen's senior citizens their best day of the week. The European Green Capital. 43 partners, 1 week, 62 events, 1 goal: changing people's mobility behavior. The European Mobility Week in September brought together all of the aspects of the My Paths theme. from car sharing to the Rhine-Ruhr Express and the Mobility Conference. On Willy Brandt-Platz Square, everything focused on the subject of electric cars, thanks to the active support of the Green Capital sponsors. The motto was, making Essen mobile the electric way. The energy company Innogy presented ideas for a network of electric charging stations, and the automotive company Nissan showcased its vehicles.
We developed a 12-point plan in order to bring electric vehicles to the streets of Essen. The city listened to us and discussed the plan in workshops. Now the majority of projects are already being implemented. That won't stop in 2017, that's going to continue. We're having fun in Essen.
The ADFC German Cyclists Association, in cooperation with Velocity Ruhr and Transition Town, presented the free cargo bike for the residents of Essen on Weberplatz Square. Parking spaces became party places in Savignystraße in Essen-Holsterhausen. Parking Day featured participation events, information, music, and a lot of relaxation. For one day, the residents claimed back their street. Buses, trains, bicycles, e-mobility and car sharing, all of the climate-friendly methods of getting about are connected and in one place. That's the idea behind the mobility stations. The first two of these future-ready facilities started operations in the year of the Green Capital. There was much talking at the European Green Capital Essen 2017. My Future includes all topics to do with initial training and in-service training about environmental matters and sustainability. Green jobs were also a talking point. What is the economic potential in this ecological transition?
In the context of the Green Capital, Essen was one thing in particular, a very good host. We created space for discussions, for exchange between city districts and for international exchange. We had guests from every continent.
But one thing after another. A start was made by Green Infrastructure, an international conference hosted by the Ruhr Regional Association, which promotes the region. At the heart of the discussions was the question, what role does green infrastructure play in transforming cities? The two-day National Congress Green in the City was held in the Colosseum Theatre at the beginning of May. A little bit smaller, but no less important, was the Future Ideas Workshop Edible City in the Adult Education Center. Auf Ruhr, Uproar, the transformation conference organized by Transition Town and the initiative Wissenschaften wandeln, was hosted in the Bürgerhaus Hauptstadt in mid-September. The discussion evenings on the topics of the Green Capital held in the Kreuzeskirche Church allowed people to share their experiences and think about Essen's future.
Das nehme ich heute mit, dass
there's always something a bit radical about gardening, and we need a certain level of radical thinking today to push the green topics to the forefront.
Radical comes from Latin and means root. The city's transformation must get to the root of the matter.
It's not just us in Essen. The entire region must answer the question, provincial or metropolitan. And I'm for metropolitan.
The international conference Twins, Cities and Climate Change, held at the Zollverein UNESCO World Heritage Site, went in the right direction. 200 participants from 22 countries from all continents came together to discuss the effects of climate change on their cities.
The cities, as the smallest level in the state, are responsible for what happens to individual people.
Twins proved what was possible. The conference results were subsequently presented at the UN Climate Change Conference COP23 in Bonn. My Green. This theme included environmental education. Schule Natur reported more than 45,000 participants during the Green Capital year on the subject of cocoa, for example.
I learned today how cocoa is made. and that other people have to work very hard for that.
The courses held in Grüne Park Recreation Park focus on hands-on environmental education. Everything worth knowing about cocoa, from the bean and the tropical biome to the harvest and the processing, to create homemade cocoa drinks.
Well, at first it wasn't very nice because I didn't know how much to use, but at some point it worked and then it was yummy.
A similar topic, a different teaching method. 15 mobile environmental classrooms from all over Central Europe pulled up in front of the Ruhr Museum in 2017 on the occasion of an international convention. The focus was on exchanging experiences and the 25th anniversary of the local mobile environmental classroom bus, Lumbricus. And there's another way too. Ist das School was the name of the project organized by one of the Green Capital's main sponsors.
Today we trained 2 groups of pupils to become energy detectives, and we taught them about how important energy efficiency is.
The project was so successful that Ist das School will be offered nationwide in the future. Talking of future readiness, the launch of the MS Energy, the world's first methanol-powered passenger ship, radiates as far as the United States and India. Shipyards from all around the world are asking for information on new climate-friendly fueling technology, where no more carbon emission is released than was taken from the air during the production process. The Greenfield project by RWE subsidiary Energy has attracted international attention. The methanol-powered fuel cells could be a serious alternative to diesel engines, in cargo ships, for example. Lovely as it is on the Ruhr, most Essen residents live in the city. Sustainable Architecture in Climate Change was the title of the conference of 350 representatives from the construction industry, architecture, town planning and city administration. For 2 days, questions such as renovate or build from scratch, do we need ecological and design standards, and how to really build in a low-resource manner were discussed in the ThyssenKrupp headquarters.
A lot of our energy is consumed in our buildings. Buildings use a whole lot of resources when they are built. More than 50% of our waste is generated by buildings. So, how we live in buildings and how we deal with our buildings is significantly important when it comes to prevent climate change and to create sustainable and livable cities.
The conference program also included excursions to practical examples of the green capital. There was, for example, the RAG head office, which largely consists of recyclable materials. In the district of Elting, visitors could see how an old residential neighborhood is being transformed into an innovation city project. The International Architecture Exhibition IBA Emscher Park, European Capital of Culture Ruhr 2010 and European Green Capital 2017, Essen has a lot of experience with programs to transform the Ruhr metropolitan area. The Future European Formats Conference in mid-December aimed at comparing and evaluating exactly these kinds of local, regional and international collaboration formats. In the Sana building on the Zollverein complex, scientists, politicians and experts discussed how European formats framed the successful transformation metropolitan areas like the Ruhr region in the last decades. The exchange of knowledge and practical experiences across all disciplines was at the heart of the 2-day conference. It culminated in the Essen Declaration, which proclaimed the century of the city and its responsibility for change.
After the century of the empire, after the century of the nation-state, I'm convinced we're now entering the era where regions and cities become the pacemakers for modernity. Essen is a very important voice in this concert, one that is being heard and must be heard, because as a former mining city, we've already demonstrated a structural change that's still outstanding in many parts of the world. That's recognized and accepted, and occasionally we're envied for that, and that's something we can be proud of. We have to say this more often to the people of Essen to remind them of what we've already achieved together. That's why cities are the pacemakers, particularly when it comes to protecting the climate.
The centre of the European Green Capital, Essen 2017, was Weberplatz Square. The former House of Encounter became the open space Weberplatz, an expedition and convention space, an information centre and the volunteers' headquarters. The Green Capital year also breathed new life into the square itself. There were almost 1,400 events throughout the Green Capital year, and the volunteers were almost always right there. Without their efforts, the year would hardly have been possible.
I took a look at everything at home. It was a lot during the last year. This variety of conventions, flea markets, garden events, thank you events for cyclists, it was just this spectrum that I thought was so much fun. Essen is my hometown. I was born here, but I didn't know everything either. Many said, an industrial city like Essen? That was the beginning everyone was waiting for. 30,000 people came. My favourite project is the outside space here, because the square has really been transformed over the year.
I never would have thought that so many people would use a bike in Essen.
They all carried on cycling with a smile on their face. I loved the surprise of someone's thinking of us. They're saying thank you that I'm cycling, and they've even given me a little gift.
These are the kinds of things you remember.
I was thrilled by the exercise day. I really liked the whole communal gardening project, sowing, picking, eating.
When you see an event like that and you learn that people have come from far afield for this weekend, then I could just beam.
The Baldeneyssteig trail is wonderful, and the feedback was immense.
The people were really excited about the event Green Up Altendorf. The people who live there and others who came to visit. They said, you have to do this every year.
I think the Green Capital achieved its goal. In my view, it flushes the correct topics to the surface. It's good, it's a good path, but a lot still needs to be done. We're nowhere near our destination yet. More of this, more.
You do these things to bring about change.
I'm going to be sad when all this is over. It was lovely to have this community spirit among the volunteers and all the people we met. It was great.
Everyone involved in the Green Capital came together one last time at the closing event in mid-December 2017. Time to say goodbye and pass on the baton to Nijmegen, the European Green Capital 2018. The main thing was to take stock.
What pleased me particularly was that the residents of Essen got as involved as we were hoping they would. It really was a green capital across the entire city and even the region. The Green Capital Essen has been a resounding success, not just for the city itself, but for the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. A lot of events and initiatives invite others to copy Essen's example, and we're very excited to see what will happen in the Green Capital in the future.
As the Green Capital, Essen was impressive in proving that economic strength and climate protection can go hand in hand. It was very intense. We experienced very diverse things, and as Energy, we were able to get involved with a unique project, a methanol-powered ship on Lake Balderney. That was a great contribution that we could make in our home city of Essen. My conclusion about the Green Capital is that we've succeeded in creating a new image of the city, definitely so in the area where I spend my time, in the European Parliament in Brussels. People looked at the pictures we exhibited there and they couldn't recognize the Ruhr anymore. The program was sustainable, incredibly diverse, and, importantly, it brought people into Essen and made people think of Essen who previously wouldn't have done so in this way.
For Zollverein, the Green Capital Essen 2017 meant more than 200 delegations and press requests, and there were many, many questions by those who came to this UNESCO World Heritage Site for the first time as part of the Green Capital Year. They could not believe that such a location had such a green atmosphere.
It worked perfectly. Everyone got involved and they got engaged with this big trip into the future, one where we have to change our behavior. Essen has really brought that to the forefront, and as a result, that message really went to people's hearts.
The charm of the European Green Capital Essen 2017 did not come from big events. It came from the small ones that were close to the people. Not everything went smoothly, not all events were well attended, not all wishes could be fulfilled, but a coordinated event like this, where different people with different motivations come together to protect our planet, has never happened in Essen, in the Ruhr area, or in Germany before. The Green Capital Year made it clear to many of Essen's residents that their city is valuable and that it's worth working for it. Not everything's better in Essen now, but much is on the right way.
Diese grüne Hauptstadt.
This Green Capital wasn't one event created by the employees of City Hall or by some environmentalists. It was an answer to the question of how ready my home Essen is for the future. How do we want to live in the future? The Children Daycare Center Kempenstraße demonstrates how the future could work. Rethinking isn't a matter of years, it's one of generations. And in Essen, every child already knows how a solar panel works.
When the sun is shining on top of the solar cell, the pump is powered through the power cable.
Die Pumpe angetrieben durch das Stromkabel.